Yeah, we'll take that program we were working on last class and then basically wrap it up. Um, it's pretty straightforward to wrap it up, I think, at this point. We're almost done, really. And then hopefully, maybe we'll have a chance to play a couple of rounds of that game. And then hopefully I can leave you with some thoughts about things you can do with that game. By the way, no one took me up on my offer to turn this into a web based application. Well, I understand that you guys are all pretty busy because of it's week 9 and yeah, 3 more weeks. In 3 more weeks, you're going to be done with this course, finished your finals. And so, yeah, I can understand that you guys. But if you want to turn this into a web app and pick up some JavaScript and learn how to implement an app in the cloud, you can, just hit me up after the finals. I'm quite happy, to do a session after the 10th of December. And you can just do a one or more Zoom sessions like this before the holidays, where I can guide you to if you didn't know already, I can guide you towards building your first web app. It's a great deal of fun, once you have the hang of programming in general, right? I mean, not programming in a particular language, programming. Then like I said, the world is your oyster, right? So you got so many places where you can go and play around, and the web is one such place. It's not the only place, right? It is just one such place where you can play around and invite other people to play your game too, even total random strangers, and can play around with you. We've got about 5 more minutes. Anyone can talk about anything they want, okay, until about 8:10. Anything they want, out in the open, right? So you can ask me questions. It does not have to be related to computer science or C++ or CS2A. I'm happy, right? We got 5 minutes. 5 minutes is open forum. You can ask me any damn thing. If not, I will just continue to talk about random shit. Okay. Yeah. It's just programming. Uh, like I said before, is not learning to program in a particular language or a particular style. It is just the programming mindset, right? It's a programming mindset looks at things in a certain way, in which you can box it in and have well-known endpoints, and then you can continue to make it better and better. And I have to spend quite a deal of time to put that into very precise words, but I hope you get the idea what I mean, right? So, I mean, it's the same. I think it's the same. Like when I did my PhD, my advisor told me something which I guess I would never forget. But I think it's different. I think in the U.S., I didn't do my PhD in the U.S., right? And so in the U.S., I think we always say it's a PhD in a subject, right? It's a PhD in computer science, a PhD in history, or a PhD in a particular subject. But I think the Indian system anyway, or even the British system, right? This is the British system, which has an equivalent of what we in India used to consider as a PhD anyway, is that it's a PhD is not a license to be to be an expert in a particular area. That's why it's called PhD, right? It's not a doctor of computer science, not a doctor of C++. It's a doctor of science, right? A doctor of philosophy. And what is philosophy, right? Philosophy is not a particular field of knowledge, right? So every field has philosophy. If you take science, philosophy of science. So philosophy is basically love of knowledge. Philo is love, and sophos is knowledge. Right? Philosophy is love of knowledge. Knowledge meaning what is true and what is false. Right? So what is true? So the unagendized, right, unpackaged, the pure pursuit of the truth and only the truth, right? I mean, meaning that if someone tells you this is why this happens, or this is why you should do something, blindly believing that person is not a sign of pursuing the truth, but asking why. Why do I need to do that? What is the end goal of this thing? That means that inside of you have that spark of the quest for truth, right? That is the ultimate quest, right? All these quests you're doing, green, blue, and so on, okay? There are many quests, but the ultimate quest in our life is the quest for truth, and basically trying to find what is true and what is not. And I think that is why when you get a PhD, at least in the non-American system, well, even in the American system, that's what it is, right? It's just cloaked as philosophy, a PhD in computer science. No, that's really not what it is. What I think what the PhD is designed to do is to put you in a certain situation in which you're reasonably comfortable about your environment. If you're comfortable with history, then you put you in an environment where you have lots and lots of historical facts which you can analyze and find out what is the right source and so on, and try to analyze it and look at it through different points of view, victor, loser, and so on, right? So but the idea is that you are put in a field, in a certain area where you can just go looking around without being distracted by other interesting things, because we all know the world is chock, it's full of lots and lots of interesting things, right? So if you were just put in the world and told go ahead and learn, well, there's so many things you can learn. You'll go this way, try to learn that, you'll learn that, right? But what happens is that I think and I'm not an expert in educational psychology or psychology, but I bet that if you went ahead and looked at some of the literature or research that has gone on in education, I think what happens is that any field you enter into, initially, right? Initially, because you have absolutely no expertise in that field. So you're trying to learn the basics, right? So the ABCs, and the basics are very, very easy, right? In any field, basics are easy, right? So you pick up the basics very quickly, and then you compare what you knew before to what you just know now. And even though you just know a little bit, not a great deal, because learning that little bit is easy, right? But you compare it to what you had before, which was zero, then you say, oh my gosh, relative to what I had before, I have infinity, because you have 1 over 0, right? So naturally, we compare ourselves. I think humanity as a whole, but generally people, we have very short-term memories, right? So we compare ourselves to our immediate past when we didn't know anything at all, and now we know so much. And then we feel like, wow, I was really born to this. This is my calling in life, because just 10 days ago I didn't know anything, and now I know an infinite amount compared to that. And so we get enthusiastic and sometimes even unrealistically optimistic, because that may not be a real cup of tea, but because in the first week or so we went ahead to ceramics and threw a pot on the wheel. We say, oh, this is my calling in life, this is what I need to do, and then we get into it. But in every single field I have looked at, there's this initial easy part where it's really encouraging, and then it gives us this information, this feedback, or what we want to hear anyway, saying you're really good at it, you got to be good, you're really good at it, this is what you got to do. We keep doing that, and then after a while, after you're done with the CS2A, for example, right, then you start looking at the really hard problems, right? Because the easy ones are gone, you've mastered it, and now the hard problems come up. That is where many people will start giving up. right? Because they say, well, I thought it was easy, but it's not so easy, really. And there's all these hard problems I need to solve. So maybe this is not my area. I need to go look somewhere else. So they jump. They jump from, history to anthropology, or anthropology to ceramics, ceramics to acting, acting to computer science. They keep jumping from one to, and because, like I said, the world is so full of so many interesting things, right? So you have a real risk. You have a real risk that you can spend your entire life jumping from one place to another, right? Never really mastering anything, but being a jack of all trades, but really not even a jack of all trades, right? Because every field now has many masters, right? Who did not turn back, but persisted and got over that hump. And so you're not really even a jack of all trades, but you just went and tried. You have a passing familiarity with all these different fields, but you never ever mastered anything because you thought you were good, but then when you hit them. So I think what is needed is really just that persistence to get past that hump. So when you do a PhD, what happens is that all these distractions are pretty much removed from you in America anyway, right? So removed from you, and you get put right in the middle and said, okay, this is your area. Now you're going to feel frustrated. You're definitely going to feel frustrated, but it's part of the natural process, right? So it's okay to feel frustrated, and just the important thing is don't not give up, right? So don't, even if you're frustrated, give it like 5 months of your time. We're not talking about 5 days or 5 hours like I do, right? When I say you get stuck with a bug in C++, this program, I say, don't give up. Don't ask for the answer. Don't ask your mom or dad or friend to come and fix it for you. But feel frustrated. Struggle for 5 hours or 10 hours. Right, but with a PhD, what your advisor will tell you is, don't feel frustrated. Don't, I mean, if you feel frustrated, and don't give up, and continue to feel frustrated, not for 5 hours or 5 months, right? Feel frustrated for 5 months, for 6 months, for a year. Feel frustrated, right? But you got to feel frustrated because and the idea there is not really to make you frustrated, right? That's not the goal. But the idea really is that during that period, you're going to look at lots and lots and lots and lots of examples, right? Lots and lots of examples in that domain. And the goal is not to understand and remember. That was an example that didn't go the way I expected. All right, so let me remember how it went, right? Because everything else I can predict, but this I cannot predict, so I'll remember, right? Then you come across another counterexample, and you say, oh, well, I got to remember that also, right? Remember that. So then pretty soon, in 6 months' time, you'll come across so many counterexamples that you'll figure out it's really not worthwhile remembering all of these individual data points, right? So you're going to do the minimum message length principle, as it were, right? So you're going to say, it's not feasible to remember every one of those outliers. So there must be something in common between all of those that is driving them. And so because I'm fixating on the thing that is not common, then I'm not able to see the commonality and have to remember these individual data points, right? So let me try and figure out what the common thing is so that I don't have to remember these individual data points, but even these outliers, and now I can start predicting. And then when you look at it that way and distill out the exact thing out of it, then what happened is that you've now looked past the superficial aspects and you've imbibed what is now the scientific mindset. Okay, so that mindset that teaches you to say, no matter what field you're in, right? Whether it's history or computer science or physics or chemistry, no matter what field you're in, if you have that mindset that tells you to ignore the superficial aspects, are we, two more minutes, maybe a few more people can join, right? So that mindset, which tells you, it teaches you to ignore the superficial aspects. Now with C++, again, I tell you, get rid of the superficial aspects, go to the core, right? So, imagine now, with 6 months of time in a particular area, thinking about a problem, how many more things can you abstract away and say, minimal pairs, really, that's what you're trying to do. So you get a lot of time to look at many different experiments that didn't go your way, right? Everything went your way, you're really not doing any research, right? You're predicting everything according to an existing model, but you're spending a lot of time looking at a lot of experiments that you thought would go a particular way, but didn't go your particular way. And you're surprised, right? Every time you're surprised, and you've got 1,000 surprises in front of you. And so you're looking at all of those and you say, well, I've got to find out, I cannot, nature cannot be so, waffly that it keeps changing. So there has to be some underlying principle that I've got to figure out. So I don't have to remember all these things, right? I can go back to being my lazy old self and not have to remember the details. I just remember this one overarching principle, and with this principle, I can derive all the details, right? So and then you go back. So when you do that, what you're doing is essentially creating minimal pairs, but not a minimal pair that has got 5 hours of work into it. It's a minimal pair that has got 6 months or maybe even 6 years. 6 years of work gone into constructing one minimal pair. One minimal pair. And that minimal pair may not even be a minimal pair in chemistry, right? Maybe you're doing a PhD in chemistry, but after a long time, you've actually abstracted away from your experiments everything that is possibly even remotely connected to chemistry now, right? So you've gone all the way down to the level of atoms and physics and quantum mechanics, right? So now you're really come up with an abstraction that is, you can't even say it's a chemistry abstraction, right? It's a physics abstraction. No, you can't even say it's a physics abstraction, right? Because you've abstracted away. Because even in the physics realm of things, there's lots of things that are very specific to particular experiments, particular domains, right? With more time and more thinking, you can factor all of those out too, right? So, and eventually you distill out the one thing that is really common to everything, right? And that is your scientific mindset. Now, when you enroll in a PhD, that is what an institution of higher learning or your guru, right? Your guru, when they take you on as your disciple or your student, that is what they're looking for. They're saying, is that a promising student who has the mental fortitude, right? The mental fortitude, resolution to stick through innumerable failures, right? Innumerable failures, so that they say it's not really a failure on my part, right? The experiment didn't work, but it wasn't because it was my failure. It didn't work because of something else. And I need to figure out what that thing is, right? So if you have that strength in you, your mental resolve, that strength in you to say, if something goes wrong, it's not me, right? But I need to find out why it didn't go wrong, it didn't go right, because then I can figure out it doesn't happen the next time I do this, right? So if you have that mindset, then you have an armor. You have an armor that no shaft can pierce and hit you, kill you, or hit your heart, right? Because now you know that none of this is really because of you. Those things happen in the outside world, and I'm just observing this outside world, and I'm going to figure out. I'm going to figure out why the hell that didn't happen. Why the hell it didn't happen, right? So so in that sense, you are an onlooker trying to abstract out all the frivolous, inconsequential details by figuring out through very clever experiments what is important and what is not, right? When you do an experiment, when you start out, you throw everything in there, right? You want to figure out how the stock market behaves, right? And you want to build a neural network, deep net, to figure out, oh, should I invest tomorrow or not in this particular stock? And you throw everything in it, right? So I know, so a long time ago, I think it was 15 years ago, 15, maybe 20 years ago, no, 15 maybe. So I knew a computer scientist who actually made money too, right? Who made money building a neural network to predict the stock market, right? I don't know how far he went with that later on. But he said he started off by saying, I had no idea what the hell it's going to happen, what the hell predicts what's going to happen. So I'm going to build a deep net in which I'm going to throw everything into it, into the face of the moon, the position of Venus, all kinds of things. And, you think about astrology here, right? All of these things in there, and then let the net figure out which ones are irrelevant, right? Because that's how you get to a scientific theory, right? In a scientific theory, you're going to throw everything in there, and then consciously or subconsciously, you're going to figure out, well, that really, I threw it in, but it's really not necessary for this experiment, because, whether it's there or not doesn't make any difference. So I can get rid of it. Right? Whether that's there or not doesn't make any difference, because I got a counterexample to get rid of it. And slowly over a period of time, maybe take 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, maybe, right? Albert Einstein, I don't know. So with, the photon has, is a part of, so it takes very long. And then slowly you get rid of these things one by one, and one. So everything is gone like an onion, right? You peel away, peel away, peel away. And eventually you're left with that grain of truth that cannot be peeled away anymore. And that, you say, well, that's why things happen this way, right? So that is your scientific mindset. And once you've got that in your head, I think then your advisor says, well, okay, now finally, I had like 20 students who I took on from my PhD. And, with 20 students, they could all be equally bright, equally brilliant students, but they're like seeds, right? They're like seeds. And you have 20 seeds and you throw them all and then there's multiple factors, not due to the seeds themselves. They may all be really solid seeds, but maybe one of the seeds fell on rock, right? Another one fell in a place where there's going to be no rain, right? So many factors. Maybe another one got trampled on by people, right? So 2 or 3 of those will actually sprout and grow into big trees and generate more seeds of their own, right? So that's what an advisor is looking for, saying, well, I'm going to take on a lot of students. They're all good students, but due to no fault of their own, some of them will not get the scientific mindset in 4 years, right? Maybe they'll get it in 20 years, but 20 years is not what the district or someone else allows me. The government does not allow me to keep a student on for 20 years and give them fellowships, right? So 4 years is I think what we've settled on as a reasonable amount of time for students to get that mindset, right? So really for 4 years, that's what you're trying to do. When you're doing your PhD or 4 or 5 or 6 years, right? So you're just trying one after another, and trying to get that scientific. When you get that scientific mindset, right? When you say, well, okay, I've done all these experiments, now I figured out, then that's when an advisor says, okay, now you've got your PhD. So then you get the title. So that's a doctor of philosophy. It does not say you're a doctor of philosophy in C++, doctor of philosophy in chemistry. No, when you get a doctor of philosophy, it means that you have now the love of knowledge, right? Not knowledge in a particular field. Now, when you have the love of knowledge, what that means is that now your advisor, your teacher is confident that you're now a tree yourself, right? Which means that because you have the light in you, you have that, you've got that mindset, you can now guide other students in exactly the same way that you were guided once by your advisor. Okay, so now you are in a position to, you don't need any domain, right? Any domain does not have to be the domain you were trained in. Any domain, someone who's trying to get that mindset, someone who's trying to get that PhD, could do some experiments, and you don't have to be an expert there, but you can still ask the right questions. And you say, why did you do that experiment? What are you trying to do? Right? What will that experiment tell you? What is the minimal pair you're trying to construct? What are you trying to isolate? What manipulanda, right? What are you trying to isolate, so you can find out whether it is relevant to this experiment, or it's just basically fluff that is irrelevant, you can discard, because that's what you're doing for all your life in your PhD. That's what you're doing, right? You're taking one by one each thing that you think is impactful, relevant to your experiment, and you're going to say, well, I'm going to run some experiment. Well, actually, it's not relevant. I'm going to get rid of that. And you're going to whittling down. You take that block like Michelangelo, right? And you keep whittling down, and then you get that statue at the end, right? So I think Michelangelo, someone said, how do you make these beautiful statues out of this block? And he says, probably an apocryphal story, maybe didn't even happen really. And he said, well, I just got this rock and I chip away everything that's not the statue. Right? And so easy to say, right? And but that's because why did he say that? And that's really true, right? That and in fact, once you get your PhD, you will realize the insight, the gem of insight that's inside of what Michelangelo said, right? So what he meant was that well, he didn't create that statue out of thin air one day, one block of, he just came out, he didn't know how to sculpt, and he saw that, he miraculously saw the Rodin's thinker. I don't know, that's not Michelangelo, right? So he saw that statue and he started chipping away. No, he chipped away thousands of statues, starting from little sand, little blocks of rock, right? So he did that thousands and thousands of times. Eventually he got into the mindset where he could actually see. He could actually see what he wanted to carve right inside, and then he could chip away everything else, right? So when you get that mindset, it doesn't matter what block of wood or block of stone is thrown at you, right? You'd be able to see what they're after, right? What they're after, right? And you say, well, if you're after that, then don't you think you should be doing this experiment, not that, right? So don't you think you should be looking at these historical sources? From more reliable authorities than this, and so on, right? And so you can calculate these odds and probabilities in your head, and you can guide students the right way. And that is why it's called a doctor of philosophy, not a doctor of C++, right? So hopefully that gives you some insight into how, as a programmer too, as we mature as programmers, is not really to mature in a particular language. Never ever enroll in a programming course to learn a particular language, right? This doesn't do you any good at all, right? So you can learn programming through a language. Yeah. So like I said, I've said this before, don't learn English in order to learn English. You learn English to communicate your ideas to someone else, right? So that's the reason. Okay. All right. So I think we are good on time now. If someone other than, well, I don't think I can enforce that anymore because most of you have had a chance to go on screen. But ideally someone who has not participated on stage before, if you can grab the the source code. Who was the last person, last class? It wasn't Flavio. Steve, John, was it Stephen? Is it Stephen? I don't know. Stephen, are you here? Oh, Stephen's not here today. Maybe he'll come late. All right. So Rizo just posted Stephen's link. And if someone wants to grab that link and run with it, we will. Where's my? Oh, there it is. Okay, so if someone wants to grab that link and run with it, open up share your screen, and then we'll just go from there. Okay. Well, we'll need to look at the program to see what we're trying to do, and then we'll make some modifications to polish it up.
Can I do that?
Yeah, sure, Bio. Absolutely. You're the first person to volunteer. Yeah, you can do that. I think, Thursday. This is today's Thursday. Next Tuesday, which is the last lecture of next week, and then we only have 2 lectures after that. Next, on Tuesday, we'll talk about recursion and stacks. Same lecture because they're related, right? So I'll talk about recursion and stacks next Tuesday. No class on Thursday, unless you want to, right? If you want a class on Thanksgiving Day morning, let me know because I'm free in the morning. Okay, I'm not free after 3 p.m. Okay, I'm not free after 3 p.m. on Thursday until 3 p.m. on Thursday, next Thursday. If you want me to give you a class, happy to do that. Okay, because there's no meetings. It's Thanksgiving Day, no meetings. I don't have anything else administrative to do at Foothill, and I would be overjoyed to give you a class. Maybe you can take this game, turn that into into a web app, or take that game to the next level, add some more bells and whistles, cool features, or talk about linked lists earlier. I can't do that because if people don't come and then. Because week 11, I want to talk about linked lists, and it'll take 2 classes to talk about linked lists, I think, and talk about and play with linked lists, because linked lists are quest number 9 is all about linked lists. You need to know linked lists and be really solid on linked lists and pointers, right? We haven't talked about pointers. We alluded to pointers. We want to talk about pointers and linked lists next on week 11. This is a week after next. So next week, if you want a class, let me know. I'm happy to give you a class before 3 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this code. Hey, Baal, can you increase the width of the code panel until we get around to running it? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. So what are we doing? Let's go to main. Let's go to main for a sec. All the way down. Yeah. Okay, so what does it do? Okay, so my pad. Okay, so we get a pad, and the constructor automatically puts foods in it, and then it shuffles. Okay, it shuffles, and then we get the shuffled ordering. We get the shuffled ordering, and then we print it out to the user saying this is the list of foods, but it's not the ordering inside because it's been shuffled. And then the user has to guess and get 25 tries. Okay, and then the user asks things like, okay, do you prefer A to B? Okay, yeah, that's all good. Okay, and then we get the index in the pet's mind and the index of the 2 foods in your hypothesis. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then if they're not the same, right? Good. Okay. So I think we can easily wrap this up in 5 minutes. Okay. I think there's only one more thing that we need to do really, and after that, there's some cosmetic details we can get to. By the way, I think Daniel had a program that he wanted to demo at some point, maybe hopefully hopefully next week or week 11, we'll get to it. I haven't looked at it, but it sounds, when he explained it to me, it sounded really cool. So I'd like for us to have an opportunity where we can look at Daniel's program. Hey, Daniel, before you discuss the program, one class before it, maybe post it on Reddit and say, this is what I'm going to be talking about. This is what it does. I think some of the other people might actually benefit from reading it before they, participate in your demo of that code. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. So here, so food one index is less than food two index. We say yes. But I think the thing that, well, I played this game after that, and then I figured there was a bug, and I know actually we played it during class, and we figured there was a bug, and I said, oh, you guys should go ahead and fix it. But this is the bug, okay? So really, food one and food two, we know food one is earlier than food two in the preference list, because Pat said yes. But you could have asked in your question, you could have asked, no, actually, food one is the first food, right? Food one is the first food, and food two is the second food. And so there is no way. Yeah, okay. So you asked food one and food two. Yeah, so they could be out of order in your own list. They could be out of order in your own list, right? They could be in order in the pet's own list. In Laska could be thinking, I like A to B, but in your own list, it could be the other way around. So if it is the other way around in your own list, you need to fix it, right? So under the cout yes, say if food if my food one index, oh yeah, okay, so you need to fork it. You can go off screen if you want for a sec while you log in, Bael.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can just do this.
You can do that? Okay, good. Okay, thanks. All right, so now I can go to the bottom, and under the S, check under the S, check to see if food one and food two are in the right order in your own list. How do you find out? No, after the S, after the S, because, we're going to say it'll make more sense afterwards, right? So how do you find out if the foods are in the right order in your list? We know that food one is before food two in Laska's list, right? But you want to find out if food one is before food two in your list. How do you find out? If other people can feel free to chime in and help him, okay, right? So maybe someone else knows the answer, and you should just feel free to say, hey, we can find out like that. So someone else, please do chime in. I shouldn't be the only person who's talking all the time, right? So someone else chime in and tell Bael that we want to find out if these two foods are in the right order in my personal list. How do I find out, right? So how do I do that? So in order to find out, I need two things, right? I need the index of the first food in my list. I need the index of the second food in my list, right? And then I need to check if, the index of the first food is less than the index of the second food in my list. If it is, then that's fine. Yeah, is that right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, this is a very hesitant us. Yes, and it's only from one person, so I don't know. All right, so no, and Augie says, I think so. All right, so no, I think so is not good enough, okay? All right, so let's make sure we get this solid. So we got two foods, right? So now you guys got to chime in here and say yes, and stay with me every step of the way. If you're not with me, you got to check in and clarify this, okay? Don't worry if, right? I got two foods, A and B. I got my own list of foods, right? Which is different from my pet's list, my own list. It's in my mind, right? And that's a list that the game prints out for you at the beginning of every round. It says, this is your list, this is your adjusted list, this is your that's my list, that's in my mind. Now, how do I know if A and B are in the right order in my list, not in the pet's list? Because I know the pet already told me that food one is, earlier than food two in my list. The pet told me that. I want to know if food one is earlier than food two is in my list also, right? How do I do that? Now, how did I find out if food one was, earlier than food two in my pets list? How did I find out? How did I find out whether food one was preferred to food two by my pet? How did I find out? Can someone tell me that?
We just check the indexes against each other, right?
Right. Okay. So how do I find out if food one is earlier than food two in my list, not in my pet's list? In my list.
We would just get the indexes of the foods
Okay.
in your list, I guess.
Yes.
You have
Okay.
to
All right.
find
Go
them.
ahead. How do you do that? How do you do that? Who's this, by the way, Bael, or were you the one?
This is Augie.
Augie. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So how do you get the indexes of the food items, and how do you do that? Complete that for me. Complete that for me. Is good practice for you, right? Complete that. We'll talk Bael through it.
All right, so we have a method to find the index of an item in a list already. Find the index of, right? We're using that above at line 124 and 123. Like 123 and 124. 123.
Oh,
See, so we're using it there. So we have the list and then the item we're using. So we have food one and food two that we got from our question we're asking already. So those are our two input variables, or those are the two foods we're checking. And so we're seeing if the index in the thing is greater than that. So if it's in the same order in our list, so we need to find the index we have it there, my food one index. So we can just do the same thing if my food one index is less than my food two index. Basically seeing if it's in the same order as it is in actually, I think we should do a not on that, because we only need to change it if it's not in the right order. If it's in the right order, we can leave it be.
so it's bigger.
Greater than or equal to. Or actually, it would make more sense to someone reading it if you did a not less than.
No, I think I don't know. It's up to you.
I think it's equivalent syntactically.
Yes.
It's just
the reason I say that
of,
is because if you said not equal to, then you have to put parentheses and all. Trade out. Then the code will start looking ugly. Trade out.
Like this.
Couldn't you just put an exclamation point outside of the? No, you would have to do. Yeah, you'd have to do double parentheses. That might look not quite as good.
Yeah. So in these cases, you can actually just invert. My food two is less than my food one, right? So and that might actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess we wouldn't need less than or equal to because it can't have the same index.
Yeah. And you don't care if it's equal to, right? Because swapping two equal items has no effect. So this is fine.
But also, like, it's in a list. They're two separate items. They can't have the same index.
Yes.
If they are the same item, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we can just do the swap function we have down below in the else statement right there. So swap foods, my food one index, my food two index. You can just copy the whole line.
Yeah, you can copy the whole line. Triple click on 144. Triple click on 140. Yeah, okay.
It's fine. He's already.
Okay. Oh wow! So did you have autocomplete in Replit? Yeah.
Yeah, there's autocomplete.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. So they built in the autocomplete into JavaScript.
Another thing we probably want to do is not always swap with the ordering there, because because what if you do food one is a lower value than food two? I'm just
I'm sorry,
concerned that
Payal, Augie, what was your question? Are you saying do we need?
we need a similar conditional in the if it's wrong.
Yes, we need a similar condition. Yes, exactly. But however, let's complete this loop, and then you can. I'll take 2 minutes from you. Right, complete this, and then you can talk him through the else part. Okay. So after you swap, put in a cout statement saying I adjusted your ordering for you. Because you only say that when you adjust things, right? So I adjusted your ordering for you, and then 2 new lines after that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm done. Yeah. Bael, you can take over. Augie.
All right, so I think we just do basically the inverse comparison for the no. So we're going to need the same sort of if statement. In fact, we can probably copy that whole if statement.
Which if statement?
The if statement that we just wrote.
I think it's just a body. I think he means just. Oh no.
No, including the conditional, because we do need a conditional, and base it over the swap in the else statement there at 146.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Here?
Yeah, and delete the other swaps there. And then remove the I adjusted your ordering for you in the first one, because we're not always adjusting it. Leave the line, just remove the part about adjusting the ordering.
Delete this line?
Yeah, he's saying.
No, not the whole line.
Leave the no. He's saying leave the no, but get rid of the. Is that right?
Yeah.
Leave what?
It just says cout no end line.
Oh, yeah. Just leave no.
No, you leave the no, delete the I adjusted the ordering for you.
Everything else can go.
Yeah. And then I think we just swap the conditional there. So if my food 2 index is greater than my food 1 index, then it'll swap.
Excellent. And I think that cout of vector join can go after that if that cut
after the closing bracket of the else statement.
Exactly.
The last line 151. 151 can be moved to, or 150 can be moved to outside of 153.
No. Put it back. Yeah, Command Z and put that back. Okay. He's saying remove 151. Cut 151. Triple click Control X and then put it on 153 is what he's saying. I think.
Yes. 152.
Yeah, 152. All right. Indent properly.
And then leave some space there. Yeah, that's good.
Great. I think that's it, right? I mean, is that no, and then yeah, okay. All right, adjusted the ordering for you. Yeah, I think that's it, right? I mean, I think we should
looks good.
Should
I run it?
Yeah.
Yeah, increase the size of your console so we can all play this game. Yeah, maybe even bigger. We don't have to look at the code now. So yeah. Okay, let's play this, guys. So tomato eats. Well, it'd be my name is Tomato, but I hate tomato. All right. So tomato. Do you prefer milk to tomatoes? Tomato, milk to tomato. What?
I think it has to be lowercase do.
Oh, I see. No, it's tomato.
Oh,
Yeah, you misspelled tomato. This is where the JavaScript version would be easier because you just have to click. You just have to click on the foods or click on the players, right? You have to type in these things. Yes. Okay. So you got all right. Oh, you got it. So that's wrong. That's wrong, right? Because it seems like milk meat. The ordering you had was
We should test it again because it might have just been random chance,
yes.
just to make sure. But it could be that it's setting the list or checking the wrong thing or something.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Type main. Type main again. /main or main. No, right there, right there, right there. Type main.
In the console.
Main.
Oh.
Main. Is it the same? Oh, it's the same. It's the same. You're getting exactly the same thing every time. Dude,
we don't have a seeded thing. We're not giving it different randomization.
Yeah. I think the code must have changed because I'm pretty sure we fixed that issue a long time ago. All right, go back. Let's put in the srand and make sure that we're actually dealing with the right list of food items. Okay, do we have an srand in main, first of all?
At the top, I think.
At the top.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we don't have an srand. I thought we had an srand, right? At the very beginning. All right. So after mypat, after on line 97, say srand, let's see the srand, open parentheses, time, 0 capital L, or open parentheses, 0 capital L, 0 capital L. Go to the end, put a semicolon, and then the return value of time needs to be typecast to unsigned. Okay, so go before the T in time and typecast it to unsigned. Okay, so that will make sure, space after space before the T. Okay, now that will make sure. Also, put in a blank line after mypat, right? Because that. Okay. All right, yeah. All right. Yeah, you can put in a blank line there too.
Blank line?
No, it's okay. All right. Now I want to make sure that we are dealing with the right list. Okay, so we got the foods. Okay, the constructor will set a certain order, and then where's my shuffle? Oh, there's a shuffle. Okay, there's shuffle foods. Let's go back to further down, where we have where you're comparing indexes. If food 2, my food 1 index, my food 2, my food 1. Yeah, okay. That looks fine. And we are looking in my foods, right? To find the index. Okay, foods. Yeah. All right. Try running it again. Now let's see if we still get the same issue. Control C. Yeah. No. Yeah. Control C.
It doesn't work. Oh yeah.
Okay. Up arrow again. Yeah. Oh, how are we getting exactly? Oh no, it's different now, right?
Yeah, it's different.
Okay, so ask, do you prefer meat to tomato? Let's find out. Do you prefer meat to tomato? Well, do you prefer milk to tomato?
It already said yes, so I think this is a issue.
There's a bug. Yeah. Okay, go back to your code. Let's try and figure out what the bug is. All together, okay, not just me. What is the bug? Why are we always getting? All right, go. It's in your main, right? It's in your main.
Yeah. It would be nice if some other people did chime in.
Yeah. Everybody should chime in. Why is it just me and Augie and Bael? Right? I'm pretty sure. How many? We got lots of people now in class. More people should chime in. Okay. All right. So let's see. So food 1, we got the 2 words. All right. So then we find out if food 1 index is less than food 2 index. All right. Food 1 index is less than food 2 index. Okay, and at the end, well, let's say, let's Yeah, all right, vector join foods. Does anybody see any obvious issues here? So, there's a saying, the way to be a good programmer is to write code. There's two ways to write code. One way is to write it so that there are no obvious bugs, and the other way is to write it so that there are obviously no bugs. Okay, so I think there's a lot of wisdom there, right? Because if you write it so that there are no obvious bugs, then you're basically fucked at that point, right? Because your bugs need to be obvious. If you can't see the bugs, then you're totally screwed. Okay, so we got to make sure that it's obviously bug-free, not obvious bug-free. Is everybody else thinking, or am I the only person who's trying to think through this? All right, so you should all be trying to run this code in your head and figure out what the hell is going on. Where do we compare? Oh yeah, mypet.getFavoriteFoods equals foods. Where you got it. And it's inside the loop. All right, let's debug it the old-fashioned way by printing a diagnostic message, okay? So go to the top of the for loop and say at the beginning, right at the top of the for loop, now print out the pets list and your own list, right? See out pets list or reference list or whatever it is, right? So you say tag it. So to say reference list equals, and then mypet.getFavoriteFoods. Yeah. No, ref list. Yeah, okay, my pet list. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You just need a tag, right? My pet list equals. Okay. Okay, my pet dot get favorite foods. No, my pet dot get favorite foods. Okay. Endl. Don't forget the endl. And then your own, right? And my list equals. And copy the whole line, triple click and copy the whole line. Yeah, paste it 2 times now. 2 command keys, yeah, one more. Okay. Now my list equals. Yeah, and then just say, and by the way, I think we can't just give a vector. I think we have to say vector join of vector join of foods. Vector join and passive foods.
Vector join.
No. So get rid of mypet dot get favorite foods and type in vector join, vector underscore join. That's a utility method you wrote, right? Vector underscore join, and then pass it foods as a parameter. Okay, and the previous line where you have mypet.getFavoriteFoods, that also needs to be a vector join call. So vector join, and then you pass it that return. Yeah. No. Leave. Okay. Vector join. Yeah. Okay. There. Vector join. At the beginning. Yeah. Vector join. Yeah, and then. Okay, all right. Now, if we run it now at the beginning of each iteration, we will know what the pets list is and our list is, and then that would help us debug better. Yes? Okay, my pet list is rice, mice, tomato, milk, meat. My list is rice, mice, tomato, milk, meat. All right, so already
I'm thinking that perhaps the list we're getting at the start is being set to the pet list.
Let's take a look. Right? Yeah, increase the size of the window. Why is the list not, where are you getting your list? Where are you getting your list? Where's foods? Okay, foods equals. Where's foods equals? Okay, vector string foods equals my patch.get favorite foods. Oh, no, you have to shuffle after.
We want to switch the order of 99 and 100.
Yeah, we want to shuffle after you got the list of favorite foods. So get 99 and put it after 100. Yeah. Okay, now that should fix it. Thank you. And you can get rid of the diagnostic messages too, right? Because that's going to come out at the beginning of each iteration, right? So you can just comment it out for now, because just in case, let's not be over optimistic. Okay, just comment it out in case we need it again. Okay. Okay. All right. So tomato, meat, tomato, milk, rice, nice. Okay. Try. Yeah. Try it. Yeah. Go ahead. Great. Okay. So it seems to be doing something correctly now. We don't know if it's all correct, but certainly doing something, right? So great. Okay. So mice to meat, it didn't like it, and then why didn't it switch it? No. That's fine. No, it said no, meaning that it's fine. I like meat, so the ordering is the same. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think so. And go ask more questions. And not just Bael, okay? Not just Bael or Augie. Everybody else. Tell them questions to ask.
Suggest it in the chat window or something if you
No,
can.
nobody's looking at the chat window. I can guarantee, okay? Because
I'm looking at the chat window.
And yeah, just speak up. Everybody, right? Tell them what to ask. Hit the space bar, tell them what to ask. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way. Hit the space bar, tell them what to ask. Guys, is nobody not even interested in this class, or nobody not participating, nobody even listening to what we're doing? It's just the three of us here in class?
You can ask, do you prefer milk to tomatoes?
Thank you, Flavio. Do you go on? More people.
Do you prefer meat to tomato?
I just noticed a really tiny bug in the code.
Oh, there is a bug. What is it, Daniel?
There's a tiny period. There's a period after no. There's no period after yes.
Oh, cosmetic detail. Yeah. Okay. So later on. Let's not kill this game because we made some progress in this game so far.
We checked, do you prefer milk to tomato? And it said yes, but it did not switch milk and tomato in our list.
Oh, do you prefer milk to tomato? And it said yes, and it didn't switch it. Oh, yeah. So there is a bug. Yeah. Okay. So it said yes to milk to tomato, but it did not switch it. Why did it not switch it? Right? Because milk should be swapped with tomato at that point. Why did it not switch milk and tomato? Let's find out. Oh, yeah, of course. I know why, but I'll let you guys figure out why, right?
Is it perhaps because you need to? I honestly don't know. I'm trying to figure that part out still.
We can take time, right? So let's just take our time all together, fix it. Chan, you should also be, Chan said, I don't know nothing. I don't believe that. So just follow along in the code. Try to run the code in your head and figure out what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do really is, there is an order of these foods, and we're asking questions saying, do you like this to this? And then if they're not, we're just swapping them around. So we're trying to fix the ordering of the foods so that it coincides. Your pet and you both have the same ordering is what we're trying to figure out. Okay. So, all right. So
is it because on line 142 we swap my food 1 in the first position and my food 2 in the second part, so we're not flipping them?
Those are the exact same operation. And because swapping X with Y is the same as swapping Y with X.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
I don't think it even gets to that point in the, it doesn't, the if statement doesn't work there because it doesn't even print out I adjusted your ordering for you.
Right. So it's not getting into there. Yeah, it's not even getting into that if statement. So your my food2 index is actually less than my food1 index, which is in fact correct. Yes, because what was it? What was the question? Milk and tomato, was it? What, I don't know what it was.
Milk and tomato.
Yeah, milk and tomato. And then it said yes. Where is it? Yeah, milk to tomato. It said yes and didn't swap it, right? And that's because your tomato index was in fact less than your milk index, but it's not in your own list. It's not. It is tomato index. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think there the bug is right there.
Is it because they're right next to each other?
Hmm?
Is it because they're right next to each other and there's something going on with a one?
No, the swapping isn't the problem here. It doesn't get to
I
swap.
know, I mean, like, is it because of some index is for some reason an off by one?
No, it's not an off by one. All right.
I think we're just using the wrong comparison there.
Yes. Yes. That's right. So go ahead and think through it and fix it. It's going to take a while because this is very much like that leap year quest that you did before, right? So in the determine if it's a leap year, there's a little bit of complex logic you need to go into to get it right. And here it is very similar. And I think spending the time to get the logic right is very useful and good. And so let's just get this right, and then we can move on. Okay, so go on, all of us, right? Not just the 4 or 5 who've been participating, me and everybody, right? So
The only thing I can see is just maybe switching the operator, the inner one. Like, I think you have to swap the EM operator for the inside one because of the fact that looking at the bottom one, and it, like, we know it prints yes, but it doesn't swap the order, so that means that it's comparing in the wrong direction. And if we look in the bottom, we can see it does both correctly. So must be if the second food's index is greater than the first one.
yes. Well, anyway, I shouldn't go ahead, duke it out, right? So someone says something and you say why, and and then arrive at a consensus saying, hey, Daniel said this and I think that's what it is, or Augie said that. Arrive at a consensus by discussing just like this, right? So Daniel said something. Now you guys should either agree or disagree with him or think about it aloud. Okay, that's the way programming happens out there in the real world, right? When you start coding out there, that's how you're going to do it. Okay.
I think it's curious because we're checking if the food1 index is less than the food2 index, and if that's the case, oh yeah, then we're checking if it's wrong in our list by checking if the food2 index is less than the food1 index. But that would only apply if it's in the wrong order, right? Unless my logic is wrong.
I'm not going to say anything, okay? We got time. We got enough time for you to just, you guys basically figure it out. It's simple enough for you that I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out very quickly, right? In the next 5 or 10 minutes. So as long as it takes reasonably.
Hang on. Go up to the where we're instantiating my food2 index and my food1 index. Like just, yeah, there, lower. Line 125.
25.
Yeah. So here it is. We're just setting, the my food index to be our favorite foods instead of the foods list.
Hey,
That's what it is.
Daniel, is that you? So who just spoke? Was it Daniel? Augie. I didn't even think of looking here. I was looking for, I was looking at the conditional, but yeah, absolutely. There is a bug right here, right? So which we didn't even notice before. Total oversight. Okay, go ahead and fix that.
Place my pet dot get favorite foods with just foods there in line 127 and 128.
I don't know how did we miss that? Yeah.
No parentheses. And it should work now.
I think so. And you can put the period in there too, because Daniel had this cosmetic issue.
Yes,
brought up this cosmetic
period.
issue. Put the period
On
after yes.
139. Yeah.
Period where?
On line
At the end.
139. After the S. After the S. Okay. All right. I think that should work now, right? It should be a proper game. Okay. And why are we getting the same ordering? I thought we were doing SRAND, and then it's giving us the same ordering every time. Run it again. Yeah, kill it, run it again. We'll see if meat, tomato, milk, rice, mice, right? Run it again. We'll see if we get the same thing. Why are
That's because we're setting it before we're randomizing the list. That's
You
good.
can do the SRAND right at the beginning before you declare MyPet. I think you're doing the SRAND after MyPet, yes?
No, we're just randomizing it after we're setting it.
No. I mean, if you go to your source, where you have a call to SRAND, Yeah. See, MyPet, the constructor is called before you see the random number, and it's in the constructor where you set the sequence of, right?
No, we're shuffling it right there. MyPet.shuffle favorite foods after we're setting foods to. We're printing out foods there is what we're doing. So it's not shuffled, and it shouldn't be what we.
No,
it shouldn't be the order.
No. What I'm saying is that when
It's the same types of foods. Yeah, we should then do SRAM before.
Yeah. So put 96 after 97. Okay. Now you'll get a different order every time. I think previously it wasn't doing it.
No, we'll get the same ordering. We'll just get different foods, I think.
We get the same ordering, meat, tomato, milk, rice, mice. We got the same ordering again?
Yeah, because this is foods and not the pet's foods. So it shouldn't be randomized. It shouldn't be shuffled.
I'm not sure I follow that. So
I think he's saying that it's like the food lists, and so those are the foods that you pick from.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
before you
therefore-
shuffle.
So it doesn't make sense to shuffle it because it's just a list that we're picking foods from.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I was just waiting for you guys to play the game. Continue with the game. So let's fix the game. I mean, play the game and finish it. Okay. Wow.
Can you do meat to tomato? Do you prefer meat
Yeah, meat
to
tomato.
tomato?
That's funny. All right. What about tomato to rice? Have we tried tomato to rice, tomato to milk, or meat to milk?
All right. So it worked.
I'm sorry, what worked?
The swapping worked. It got
Oh,
it.
it did. I see. Okay. So previously, I guess we were just getting lucky before.
Yeah.
So we still haven't got the answer. So we got, what do we need to ask now? Meat. It adjusted the ordering of tomato and rice. Okay, tomato and rice. What else? What else do we need to do? Is meat at the very top? Is meat preferred to rice and everything else? Meat to rice? Yeah, okay. Meat to milk? No, okay, great. Okay, so milk, there you go. What about meat to tomato? Oh, we did meat to tomato already, right? And we did meat to mice also?
It prefers meat to rice though, so we have to ask it again so it'll swap properly.
Oh, yeah, okay. Meat to rice.
Meat rice?
Yeah, meat to rice.
You already asked meat rice.
Oh, no, but then after that, it swapped.
It swapped meat with milk, and now meat's below.
There you go. All right. So how many questions? You took 7 questions to discover the ordering. Milk, meat, rice, tomato, mice. Actually, it actually does work. So it's I think it's a fun little game because well, obviously we can tidy up the cosmetics of it, blank lines and in the output, not in the code. The code looks cool, right? In the output, you can tidy it up, and it's actually a pretty nice game. And it is in fact set up quite nicely to be a JavaScript game on the web, with graphics and all. It's kind of cool. So in fact, now you can even expand the number of foods to 6 or 7 so that it's harder to find out just by random guessing. So far, we've just been doing some random guessing, right? And you pick 2 items and you'll find very soon that when you get lists that are larger and larger, random guessing is not as lucrative as we originally thought. So if you have some kind of a methodology, a systematic approach, then you'll find that you're able to get the right ordering. So I think one of the systematic ways is basically, and there's a huge number of systematic ways, right? So the one brain dead way is to find out first what needs to go at the very top, right? So pick one item and then compare it to everything else, right? And move it to the very top. Well, basically you need to find the maximum, right? So if I find the maximum and move it to the top. So comparing the top item to everything else, something like that. So come up with a strategy. Come up with a strategy. I think there's many strategies, right? Someone could say, I'm going to move the top item and then the next item and the next item one by one, right? One by one until we do everything. So maybe that's someone's strategy. Someone else could say, I could do from the bottom up. That's one strategy. Someone could say, I'm going to start from the top, but I'm not going to move every item one by one, but I'm going to move items like 2 steps at a time, right? And sometimes adjusting, right? Like, for example, we moved meat 2 steps, but then we had to move it in the opposite direction once, right? So that was a useless move. So by posing your questions cleverly, coming up with these clever sequences of questions, you can minimize the number of questions you can ask. And the challenge here is going to be, given the same list, who can find the ordering with the least number of questions, right? So if you want to turn that into a real game that 2 of you play, we need to make sure that both of you get exactly the same ordering to start with, right? Both of you get the same ordering. So I think what we can do is, if 2 of you are playing the same game, you can say play it, but use a seed of 1. So if you use srand 1, srand 2, you use a very use a known seed, use a common seed. Both of you use the same seed, then you will both get the same sequences, right? And then you can figure out, oh well, you got the same sequence as me, but I found the sequence in 5 questions, and you found the sequence in like 15 questions, right? So you actually even have a scoreboard. And you can comparatively rank the players against each other. Okay, so I think this is a fully functional game at this point. So what we can do is for the next 5 to 10 minutes, take this code and review it, and let's go over parts of this code, because I appreciate the fact that not everybody understands all of this code, right? Although it's like 120, well, it's over 150 lines now, right? But strictly speaking, it's really, the meat of this code. If you indent it with KNR style, right, with braces not on the on a line of their own and all, it'll be less than 100 lines, I think, right? And so take some time now. We got time to look over the code. If there's anything that is not 100% clear, this is your time to ask, right? So we can go into the detail, the logic of this program and try to fix these things, and no, not try to fix this thing, and try to understand them in more detail, right? So this is a great opportunity when we have a class. We've covered a whole bunch of stuff that is needed for this, arrays, vectors, arrays inside of classes, and then utility methods that you bring to bear on and a complete project. It's a complete project. Well, although it's not like a finished product, right? Because for finishing the product, you need to put in comments at the top, header comments saying, well, this class does something, mainly for your own benefit, right? Because you may write this program and store it on a USB thumb drive and forget about it for 10 years, right? And you come back and you want to know what you did, right? So it's useful to put those comments there, not too much, but just a little bit here, and sprinkle the most essential pieces of comments in there. And that basically is your polished up code. Some people might say, well, I'm going to take the pet class and put it in a separate file called pet.h, right? And then main will be in a driver, a separate driver elsewhere. So that's all of those things. This factoring of code or organizing your code, all of that can be done separately. And if you are interested in these things, always enroll in a software engineering class. I think, at Foothill, there is a class we offer called software engineering. Right? Software engineering is distinct from programming, right? It's a meta skill, not the skill itself. And I'm not teaching software engineering, right? Obviously, you can see, right? We're just coding everything in the same thing, and we're not following the best practices. Nobody should have to follow the best practices. Again, when I just say that, I don't do things just because someone says, this is the way you format it. This is the way. No, I think you do it the way it needs to be done to get the damn thing to work, right? And then after a while, you will discover your own ways of doing things that make it easier for you. And what happened is that over decades, really, over the last 40 or 50 years, since people were writing computer programs, many people like us, right, wrote programs, found out easier ways of doing this, easier ways of organizing code, what comments are useful, what comments are distracting and useless and are bad, and they've codified that knowledge into not policies that are mandatory, but books that say software engineering, right? And says, if you follow these practices, your own life will be easier, right? And I think I said this in my face-to-face class. That's the difference between engineering and non-engineering, right? So just like anyone, I can be a builder. I can be a builder today. And I'm not talking about computers at all. I can build a home, right? Because I can just go walk over to the lake, and I can over a period of 2 days or something, bring some heavy rocks and blocks of wood, and then build a shelter, right? Which will keep me safe from natural forces or even, some predators around there. So that's okay. Anybody can do that. Anybody, my squirrel builds a home, right? So not my squirrel, right? So the squirrel that comes by every day, right? So he's got a home. And, but so where is the engineering, right? So where is the home built by an engineer? Where's the home built by you? Where's the difference between the home built by the program written by any old coder? Anyone can write a program, right? All they need to know is just learn the language, right? Anyone can speak English, right? But not everybody is a Shakespeare. And so you can learn English to talk, and everybody does that. So what's nothing brilliant about that? But what makes a software engineer, right? What makes a Shakespeare not an English speaker, right? And an engineer knows how to do things with the least amount of resources and the least amount of effort, right? So that's why we use calculus, right? We use calculus in designing things in mechanical engineering or anything, right? Calculus is so useful because when you take something and build something out of it, you can actually use mathematical principles and say, well, the effort required the energy, the electricity required to run this machine as a function of the load that the machine needs to drive follows that particular curve, right? This curve, right? And so what can I do to minimize the amount of electricity consumed? What can I do to minimize the number of bricks required to build this home? Right? So what you do there is basically calculate what is a mathematical shape that gives you the maximum area or maximum volume for a given number of bricks, right? And you'll find it's a sphere, right? But you can't build a sphere. So within the compromises and constraints that are allowed, you say, well, so in that case, if I want to use the smallest number of bricks and still build a stable structure, I should go for a cube. Right? A cube is the closest thing you can have to a sphere, which maximizes the volume. And how do you know that? How do you know that? Because you can use calculus, right? You can use calculus to say, well, I have a curve and I need to find a minimum point. Well, how do I find the minimum point of a curve? Well, here the curve is descending, so its slope is positive, right? And here the curve is ascending, so its slope is negative. So where is it the minimum? The minimum is where the slope changes from positive to negative. So it can't go from positive to negative all of a sudden, blam, like that. So it needs to go through 0 and then go to so the place where the slope is 0 is a minimum point or the maximum point, right? So use calculus to find out what is the minimum. So just like that in programming, right? So you get, right now, everybody does what we're doing right now, saying, I got the logic, I got this idea in my head, I've got it, right? So now I've built a dwelling, you can go into that hole and you'll be shielded from rain and hail, right? So I've built that. Now let me see how I can do that better. So without having to, without these constraints. So then engineering comes in and says, okay, well, now that you got the basic thing sorted out, let's look at how you can do it with the least amount of resources, with the least amount of effort, and derive the maximum benefit out of it. So engineering is all about taking something that you know how to do and then maximizing the goodness and then minimizing the badness. That is what engineering is about. People talk about engineering, I'm an engineer, but what do they do, right? So most people who say that I'm an engineer, they're just following recipes in a book, right? So someone says that's the way to do it, they do it, right? So, but the mindset to look at the engineering perspective, the scientific mind, is to say, well, this is exactly what I want to do with the least amount of resources. How do I go about maximizing that? Should I use 110 volts instead of 117 volts, right? So what is the point? So you do the calculation and you figure out, well, these load factors, 110 is one minimization point, so I'll use 110 volts. That's why we have 110 volts, right? Not some random, not some round number of volts like 100 volts. So and things like that. That's where engineering comes in. We at Foothill, I think we offer a course. I think Beta teaches it. It's the last couple of quarters. I think Beta taught it. Maybe it's called software engineering. And in software engineering, you learn to take programs like this and structure them in certain ways to make it easy, not just for yourself, but also for other people to work on your code, which means they'll also teach you about Git, version control, all these other things that come into software engineering. Say, well, if you want to do this, here, you can use a tool called Git. Or GitHub, you check into GitHub, other people can make changes, right? And you want to see what the change made, the reason for the change, click here. All those things are built in, and Doxygen style comments, so you can just mouse over something and it tells you what it does. All of those are software engineering, and you learn these, really, really valuable and powerful skills after you get really solid with, just getting your logic out there. The first thing is to just regurgitate, right? Not regurgitate. The first thing is to get the logic out and make sure it's correct, and then make your fine-tuning adjustments. That's why I always say, correctness first, and then the accuracy, right? Always comes before speed. And correctness, and then speed, and then appearance, right? Appearance is basically the look of your program as well as the look of the user interface and then the user experience. So all of those are secondary. Because if the program doesn't work, none of that is really doesn't matter, right? So I got a wonderful piano. It's so beautiful. It weighs like 5 grams, but it doesn't play anything, right? You can't hear it, right? So nobody's gonna buy it, right? Or you hit C sharp, you'll hear E flat, okay? So I got a fantastic piano, but it's all incorrect. It's inaccurate. Nobody will buy that. So accuracy is number one. No matter how beautiful your piano is, nobody will buy it if it's going to, sound all the wrong notes. So accuracy number one, speed, and then UI and experience come after that. So I think this is great. We've done a nice little program here. So I would like if someone can take this game to the next level, right? So use more foods, add more cosmetic touches to it, more detail. So when you play it, it does these things. And obviously, if you do it in JavaScript, you have more options available to you, right? So when you can play sounds, you can play sounds. You just make these sounds with GarageBand. It's really easy, right? So, or you just download sounds from freesound.org. So you can play sounds. Every time it says, you got a right answer, you could play a nice little tone, all these things. You can build all these things into it, flash screens, and it would be cool. So if someone would like to do that, I'm happy to guide you through that. It will be a very useful and worthwhile experience, right? You should not think that, oh, it's a different language, it's JavaScript, but here I'm only charter. My charter is to learn C++ here. No, that's not the right attitude, right? So you're here to learn programming, not C++. And just by saying, well, I got the logic, I need to try this logic out in another syntax. There you go. There's another language for you to try out. So there you go. I think that's good. We've got this going. It's 9:30 now. We've got about 20 minutes left of class, 25 minutes left of class. What we can do now is either talk more. Well, let me see. What did I want to cover? Let's see. I want to cover next class. We'll do stacks and regression, which I think should be pretty straightforward. And then linked list. Anything else we need to cover?
I have a question.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
What does it mean? Like this?
Destructor? Yeah. So we don't need that anymore. You can get rid of it. We can use a default destructor. Just get rid of the line reading. Right? We had the destructor before, I believe, and also the definition. You have a definition. Yeah, that can also go. Yeah, you feel free to tidy up and clean up this code as much as you want later. And the destructor is called every time a pet object that was created goes out of scope, meaning it needs to be dismantled and given back to the operating system, right? So we did the destructor because in a previous version of this program, I think we were playing around with static variables, and then we had a population member, which is static, and we needed the destructor so that when the pet died, it would go and decrement population. So we put it in there, and then we took the same program and adapted it into our game. We forgot to get rid of the destructor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But do you understand what the destructor does? Yeah.
It's just when you don't need the object, it just destroys it.
Yes. In fact, it's not when you don't need it, when the object goes out of scope, right? Because so let's assume that this is your opening brace and this is your closing brace, and here's where you declared the object. And then you use the object here, and here you're done with the object, right? But the closing brace doesn't happen until here. So you don't need the object from here to here, but the object will still not be destroyed, right? The object will only be destroyed when the object goes out of scope, which is here. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, but what you said is right. Most of the time when you don't need it, it'll go out of scope. But sometimes you have variables that'll go out of scope, but it'll still continue to be there until that you don't need, but it'll be in scope until it actually goes out of scope, which is at the end of the the closing brace. Yeah. What else? Any other questions you have? I think this is a very nice little group project, right? Because we did this together, all of us, and there were bugs, and we fixed the bugs in a group, which is really fun. Group bug fixing is actually a great, a fun, and it's a bonding exercise among geeks or programmers. Because when you fix a bug with a friend, it is a completely different experience, and you need to feel it, but you should not go down that road before you get completely comfortable with fixing a bug yourself. Because the risk is that if you always ask your friend to say, I have a bug, fix it with me, and then you fix it together and you get a high out of it, you get used to it very quickly. And then very quickly you forget that you can actually fix a bug on your own. When your friend is not around, you encounter a bug, you think, oh my gosh, I'm stuffed now, I got to wait until, or get some help. And I don't think that's works favorably towards writing significant programs. So I would say that resist the temptation to solve bugs with your friends or other people, except in class, right? Because in class it's bound at 2 hours or something like that. We do it here, but outside of class, fix all the bugs yourself. Try and do everything we did in class, diagnostic C output and statements and so on. But when you're really comfortable, I would say when you can basically whip out your laptop and let's say, right, here's a good test that you can use. So until such time as you get to a place where you have an idea in your head, and when you have the idea in your head, you whip out your laptop and start coding, right? And get some rudimentary version of it out, right? Doesn't have to be the final finished product with all the bells and whistles. No, so you get the logic, the core part of it. So getting that down, basically the gap from idea to keyboard, right? So when you manage to reduce that gap, we doing that for a program that I would say like this, right? Over about 200 lines, right? Until about 200 lines of code. Don't ask until you get to writing over 200 lines of code on your own, right? Don't ask anyone to help debug your code, okay? No one, right? Even your closest friend, closest relative. No, don't. Just take it from me. I think 99% of the time, I'd be very surprised if that doesn't work, right? If it doesn't work, let me know, and I will not give this advice to future students. But until you get to 200, use 200 as a rough ballpark for now. You can revise the number later on, but I think 200 is a good threshold, okay? So until you cross through 200 lines of code, your own code, also not your own code that someone else asks you to write, right? So if I say, here's a program, go and do this, and then you take more than 200 lines, no, it doesn't count. It has to be 200 lines of code of your code for your own idea, right? You may not get an idea to code for the next 3 or 4 months. Doesn't matter, okay? Until you get an idea that you want to code personally without asking anyone else. 200 lines, and it's over 200 lines, right? Don't ask anyone to help you. And then after that, you can feel confident and more comfortable saying, I got a bug and I can't figure it out. Can someone come and help me, and sit together and jointly figure out what's going on? It's actually a fantastic experience, right? Because you kind of commune with your fellow brain, fellow intelligent people, right? We're looking at the same thing. And my hypothesis as to why that is so fulfilling really is that when more than one person is trying to solve a problem without an agenda, right? So that then you say that you're both trying to solve the problem without any agendas, right? So that person is not trying to help you so that they can get the credit from you, or so that they're going to get money, or there's no agendas here. You're both interested in only one thing. You're both curious to see what you both understand why the program doesn't work and what it should do, and you're both curious why the fuck doesn't it do what it's supposed to do, right? I need to know, right? At that point, after having described the bug to your friend, you tell them, no, I don't want your help anymore. I'm going to go and fix it myself. They're going to say, right? They're going to say, no, I want to fix it with you. I got to know, man. What the hell is going on? It's killing me, right? So you get them into that mindset. That's when it's useful for you to fix it, and that's when you'll get the high, because because otherwise, think about it, right? If the other person is helping you, not with a view of just helping you fix a bug, but they're getting something out of it that is unrelated to the program, right? Maybe they're getting your obedience or your respect or something like that. Then your joy from having fixed a bug, maybe you get a relief that you don't have that bug anymore, but the joy you get out of it is correspondingly attenuated, right? Because that person was not as happy as you were to get that bug fixed, because they were getting some other additional byproducts out of it, which you're not getting, right? They're getting something else out of it that you're not getting. It doesn't feel that you've got the maximum value out of it, right? And in order for you to really enjoy it, you will get to the point where you're doing group development of big projects, and I think that is fantastic, right? And especially later on when you go and work in a research lab or something like that, there's not a single research project that one person does from end to end. So there's so many experiments, like in PhD, right? So there's so many experiments that need to get run. You cannot afford to just one person doing that. So you'll have, in order for this theory to be right, that experiment has to work, which means, light has to be, something like that. I mean, this has to work, that has to work. Yeah, the teams will go. Each team will go perform their own experiments and come back with their own findings. And then at your weekly meetings, you would basically just go around the table and say, hey, what was the result of that experiment? And what was the result of that experiment? Wow, that's really interesting. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? That is inconsistent with this model. Maybe there's a problem with this model. Maybe that will fix the model, right? So, and so on. All these interesting and juicy, really juicy discussions you can't even have. You cannot have if you don't get to that place, right? So you need to break into the club. You need to break into the club of the intelligentsia, right, as it were, to have those conversations. And those conversations are a completely different level from the conversations you have, and they're so much fun, right? So I'd like every one of you to experience that, and eventually come back, maybe 5 years, 10 years from now, right? Maybe you guys are all big shots and multinational companies. Come back and say, hey, you know what? I was a student, like 15 years ago, I was a student in this class and I had the same problem. And, Anand asked me to say, stop by and say hi to you guys and maybe drop a few pearls of wisdom, and come by, take 10 minutes of our time and say, hey, 10 years ago we did this, and now C++, it looks like a different language now, right? You don't even have to type. You just have to sit in front of your computer and tell it what to do, and it'll generate C++ code, right? And all those interesting things you can share with your juniors later on. And I'm confident, right? At least everybody who's in class today, right, who took the pain to attend these classes, even though you don't have to, right? Every one of my classes is optional. Like I said before, you just contribute in the forums, I'll give you points. And so the fact that you're coming and participating and looking at code, being brave enough to come on screen and code in front of everybody else and ask questions, I think that is really the way to learn. And with this mindset, you can go all the way to a PhD, right? You can go all the way to a PhD. In fact, you don't need a PhD if you already got the scientific mindset before then, right? But that's what a PhD is. They give you 4 years to not to memorize the result of the billion experiments you're going to do, but in the hope that these billions of experiments eventually in 4 years time would have succeeded in uncovering that golden scientific mindset that is buried inside of you, right? So that, and it takes time, and they give you 4 years or 4 or 5 years of government funded effort for you to discover that jewel inside of you. That's what a PhD is, okay? And you can keep going, right? You can keep going and learn as much as you want once you've got that mindset, which I think most of you have, right? And just don't give up. Never give up. Don't give up. And well, I mean, obviously you have to give up when you are when you know for sure that something is not you, right? Something is physically beyond your abilities. Yeah, well, you can say, I'm going to try something else. Because that's easier for me. Because if physically you're prevented from doing something, you have to put in more effort to get to the same place as someone else, right? Like that character in Gattaca, the movie Gattaca. If you haven't seen the movie Gattaca, I would highly encourage you to see. Maybe it's on Netflix or Prime. It's a sci-fi film. And the main character, I think it's Ewan McGregor or someone, I don't know, I forget the name, right? He happens to be a non-genetically engineered baby in a future where everybody is genetically engineered, meaning everybody has got skills that have been built into them in the embryo, right? And this person comes out without any skills, but also to make things even worse, with genetic disorders, which prevent him from doing things that other people can, right? Like swimming long distances and so on. But despite that, he puts himself, because his mind is set on becoming an astronaut, right? Kind of traveling to space. He sets himself this task and perseveres and gets to that place. Eventually he does that. It's a nice I think it's a feel-good film, which is also inspiring for in many ways. But you don't have to. You only have to do that if you cannot find other areas in which you can shine. I mean, chances are, and for many people, There are multiple areas in which you can shine, and hopefully you'll find that sooner in your life than later. Because once you find it, then you can say, that's where I'm going to keep at, right? So yeah, I may find these hurdles, these bumps, but I'm going to keep at it because I want to go over the bump and come out on the other side, because on the other side is different. It's different, right? So yeah, I think it's really awesome. I'm very pleased that we managed to start this game last class, and we managed to finish it. It would be nice if some of you can look over the code, discover any bugs, right? This it's still a possibility of bugs, even if it's a simple program. This is a possibility of bugs, right? So go over it, fix it, share the code. If someone can share the code in the forum, at least one of you should share the code as it is right here, saying this is the code we worked on. And then maybe someone else can, in the YouTube video, they can put a time mark saying, oh, well, 33 minutes to 47 minutes or something like that, right? So we worked on this code. You can do those things. Or you can even put specific time marks saying, hey, this is the place where we fixed a bug, that particular bug, and do those things. But I would also expect in Reddit, for at least one or two of you, right? Ideally more, at least one or two of you more than Bael, to take this code and make some changes, make some tweaks, insert more interesting things, right? Make variations. Every time there's a game that is fun to play, like Risk, right? Immediately in the next few years, you will see like 10 versions of Risk, right? So Clue, there's a Harry Potter version of Clue, Star Wars version of Clue, right? And so like this game, right? So if you think it was a fun game, you should develop your own version, a variation of this game, and say, hey, I got a game. You can even give your game a name, right? We don't have a game name for this game yet. Give it a name and say, play this game, right? Rhizo's Laska or something like that, right? So play a game and give it a name, take it to the next level. All I want to see really is you guys having fun. Okay, because if you're not having fun, I'm not having fun. So I want you, I'm just showing you lots of ways to have fun. That's really what I'm doing in CS2A, 2B and 2C also, but more in 2A, right? I'm showing you, well, you can have fun this way. So I'm showing you lots of ways to have fun. And my hope is that you will have fun, but also discover more ways to have fun that I haven't thought about, right? So that is my hope, right? Unspoken. Well, now it's spoken, right? Now it's spoken, everybody knows. But that is what I bet every teacher, not just me, every teacher, right? In their minds, even though they don't tell you, they're thinking, well, now I've taught them how to go and do this dance, right? There's this beautiful dance. I've taught them this dance, but they're not expecting you to just keep performing the same dance over and over again. Yeah, I've seen it. I can play it in my head, right? But what they're hoping secretly is that you've taken the dance, danced it, and then and enjoyed the pleasure that came out of it, right? Enjoyed the pleasure as a performer. You've got it, and then you've developed a taste for it. Now you're salivating, right? So you want to say, oh, I want more, but I'm not going to teach you anymore. So what are you left with? You don't have any. You say, oh, all right, I'm going to go and create my own dances. Okay, so you go and create your own programs, your own variations of it, right? Variations, and then you share it. And then I say, hey, that's really cool, right? So that seed that I planted now is a tree that's giving me more seeds that I didn't plant, right? New seeds. So that really is why, that's how you can make any teacher's day, okay? Not just me, because now in 3 weeks time, you're out. I'm probably not going to see you again, right? But you'll encounter many teachers. You go to college, you go, well, this is college, right? Maybe you're going to continue on to do your PhD or a master's and so on and so forth, right? You'll find other teachers, not even in college, right? You find teachers everywhere in your life, your parents, your friends, all teachers. What are they hoping for, right? They're all hoping that, you can take the skill and take that to the next level and bring back something and give them something that's, even that they haven't thought about, right? That is going to be useful for them also. And so that's the way to make any teacher's day. Right? When you encounter a teacher in your life in future, that's how you can make them happy. Okay, keep that in mind. If you make your teachers happy, they will also make you happy, right? Well, they're not teachers, right? If you make someone happy, they're going to make you happy. Okay, that's the way usually it works, right? So I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for most teachers, right? That's, as a teacher, that's who I interact with most of the time, right? Teachers and researchers and people like that. So what they like is for you to pick up the skill and then take it to the next level and show them something that is new, right? Show them something that's new, and they're looking for that. Maybe I'm not in a hurry. I'm not impatient. I'm not saying that you got to do that by the time of your finals. You can I'll be waiting, right? I remember most of you, maybe in 15 years time, I read a newspaper article and say, hey, Mohammad Rizzo, what's your last name? I don't know, I forget your last name. Or Bile as I keep picking these hard to pronounce names. Nifam, okay, Ni, right? So I read a newspaper and it says, hey, Ni just discovered an algorithm to sequence, multiple genomes in some weird way. Right? So I read that and hey, well, Ni was my student like 15 years ago. That's really cool. And how did she do that? What was the algorithm? What is the difference? Many times I may not even be able to understand exactly what the algorithm is, because the domain in which you've gone deep enough is further than I have gone. So I may not understand the details, but maybe I'll get a high level picture of what you're trying to do. Say, hey, that's really cool. That's clever. And that's it, right? So those are the nuggets of candy that will be available to other people. All right. Yeah.
I'm not sure what this means.
Which
It's
one? Which?
like
Yeah. O string stream. Yeah. Oh, sure. Right. Here's what we'll do. I'm happy to talk about that, but in fact, let's do it slightly differently. I would like someone else who would like to volunteer to explain O string stream to Bael. This is what Bael, was it you who asked the question?
Yes.
Okay. If someone else can volunteer to pick up the conversation at this point and explain what O string stream is to Bael, I would be very happy. Anyone, right? Take a stab at it. You don't have to. You take a stab at it, and if you falter, I'm happy to step in and make sure you're right. I'm happy to help you out. Yeah. Okay. So all right, two people, but someone else. Yeah, is someone else able to do that, or I will do that? I mean, I would ideally like someone else to do that, but if nobody else, I will do that. We got 5 more minutes. Okay, we don't need more than 5 minutes for this. I'm happy to do that, but please, someone, if you can do that, I would enjoy listening to your explanation. Yeah. Can someone please pick it up? Or tell me, right? Tell me in a group, more than one person. Yeah, tell me if you would like me to explain it. If there's 2 or 3 people that want me to explain it, I'll go ahead and explain it. Okay, there's one person. Who else? Well, actually, there's 2, right? Because Augie or Bayal also said, yeah. All right. So, yeah, but Augie actually had the answer. It is a reverse of iString stream, right? So, what is iString stream? Yeah, exactly. iString stream. What are we doing there? We are creating the equivalent of CN. Look at line 69. In line 69, we say ISS double greater than word, right? That is the same as you're saying CN double greater than word. What happens when you say CN double greater than word? It reads a word from console CN and stuffs it in word. Yes or no? If it was CN.
Yes.
No, it was a very hesitant yes, right? On line 69, instead of ISS, if you had CN, what line 69? Yeah, on line 69, instead of ISS, if you had CN, is it clear? We know what happens. For a moment, just turn that ISS into CN, right? Just double click on ISS and turn, yeah, CN, right? So if it was like this, does everybody understand what goes on?
It reads from console to word.
Yes, it reads one word from the console and puts it in this variable called word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and change it back to ISS. So change the scene. All right. So what we did there was, well, I don't want to read from console. I want to read from a string. a string that is already given, right? A string that is given to me. I want to read from that string. So how do I do that? I can, you know, I can do it in funky ways by, you know, looking at the memory and looking at the locations. Yeah, that's a painful way. The other way is to say, well, you know, I have a technique already that reads from the console, from the keyboard. Is there a way I can use that to read from the string? Yes, there is a way, right? And the way you do that is by saying, I want to manufacture cin or something like cin from that string, and I can give that to the greater than operator, right? And say, here is your cin, but really it's not cin, right? Because it's a string that we manufactured using that string. And we give it to that operator and say, read from here, that's your cin, right? So we're making that double greater than believe that that ISS is cin. Yes? That's what iString stream does. Now, OString stream is exactly the same as that. It's in the opposite direction, like Augie said, right? In OString stream, what we're saying is that, well, you know what? Every time I do cout, where is it? Do we have a cout somewhere? We have a cout statement? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, where's cout? Every time I do a cout, I'm taking that string and sticking it on the console. Everything is, you know, double less than. I take that and put it there. Take that and put it there. This is cout is my console. Now I want to do the same thing, except I don't want to put it on the console. I want to take whatever it is and I put it onto the end of some string in memory, right? It's a virtual console. It's not a string that you see here, but it's really a screen of bits and bytes inside my computer's memory. It's in there. So I want to take these things that I would send to cout. Instead of sending it to cout, I want to reroute it to send it into that string. And then when that string is all full packed up, right, as much as I want, then I can say, you know, take that thing that I built in memory, convert that into a string and give it to me, right? That is what line 60 does, right? So in the beginning on 55, when you say, give me that memory buffer, right? OString stream is basically a memory buffer. It's an area in memory which will behave as though it is cout. That's what it means.
Infinite, like, does it have infinite like amount of memory?
Yes, it's not, I wouldn't say infinite, but it's as much as your computer has, or as much as the operating system is able to give it. So if you have 4 gigabytes of memory, you can basically pretty much, you know, keep dumping lots and lots of stuff into OS.
Okay.
Yeah. So OString stream essentially just takes some area of memory and makes it look as though it is cout. That's what OString stream is. In exactly the same way as iString stream also takes some area in memory, right, which is basically a string, and makes it behave as though it is your keyboard. iString stream takes your memory and makes it behave as though it's your keyboard. OString stream takes, you know, that area in memory and makes it behave as though it is your screen. Now you can throw stuff at the screen, meaning your OString stream, right? And when you're done throwing stuff at it, and you can say, now take that memory area locations, take that area in memory, convert that into a string for me, serialize it, you know, and give it to me. That's what OString stream does. So OString stream is the opposite of iString stream, except it's the opposite, and it is the same as cout, except that instead of sending it to the console, it is sending it to a make-believe, a virtual, you know, an illusory console that's in memory, right?
How does it know when string ends?
Sorry?
How OString stream knows when string ends?
Oh, but no, it doesn't know where it ends. It basically has everything you send to the stream. It basically puts in the stream and it knows where it ended, right? So if I say put the string hello in OString stream, it's gonna, whatever memory location it has, it is gonna say HELLO. It'll put it in there, right? And then it knows, well, that's the end. Next time you append more, it puts it onto the end. So it has internally, OString stream has a pointer to the buffer inside of the buffer that says, you know, I've stuffed stuff in there. I've put stuff in there, and the next thing that's going to come in goes here. The next thing that comes in goes here, and so on. So it maintains the stream, the same as console, right? How does cout know when you run out of the string? When you send lots of stuff to cout, to the console, right? It keeps putting stuff there, but how does it know where to put the next word that comes in? because it maintains internally, it knows where the cursor is. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So cout maintains that cursor, which says that's the end of the last thing that was stuffed in. So just like that, OAS is basically a stream, right? So it maintains a cursor. It knows that's the end of everything that's been stuffed in. So if someone asks for me to stringify everything .str, I will say, from here to here is what I'm going to turn into a string and give, right? So ostring stream maintains that pointer that shows it where the end of everything that's been inserted so far is. Does that make sense?
Yes. Now it makes sense.
Great, thanks. All right, was this helpful? Was today's class helpful? Was this demo helpful? I know that some of you wanted to participate but probably didn't. But so far, is it okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, well, I think we're at the end of class today, and we will still have a whole bunch of students. So what I would like is if you guys can please take this to the next level, right? I say this at the end of every class, but very few people act on it. But I would like it, if someone could take it to the next level, participate in the forums, post notes, versions of this code, and also discuss things that are not clear in the forums. In the forums, you can discuss concept issues, right? Not just, you shouldn't discuss question issues, but concept issues happily, right? Even if the concept issues are about the code that we did in class today, you should feel free to discuss that. And that will make everything more lively and interesting, okay? Especially since we only have like 3 more classes left. I think make it a point to go online in the forum and interact with the rest of you, and build a community of 2A students, right? Because I know how many of you are planning to do 2B next quarter. Say in the chat window that I'm looking at right now, say I'm planning to do 2B. If you're planning to do 2B, right? Just type it in, and so I get a idea. Right? Great. Right. I hope you're planning to do 2B in my section, right? There's only 3 people, only 3 of you will want to do 2B. But if you do 2B, try and do it. I would say, I recommend do my section of 2B if possible, because then you get to continue doing the quests. You can continue to do the quests, and we'll have more of these, right? More. Actually, I don't know, 2B, I'm not doing face-to-face, but like I said, my classes, it doesn't really matter if it's face-to-face or online. Even if you're all doing online, I'm happy to do these face-to-face, synchronous lectures. So even if you're doing 2B and it's an online class, just get together with your classmates and say, hey, I want Anand's class every Tuesday, or on the odd Tuesdays, or the occasional day, or even Saturday or Sunday, right? So you get together and ask me for a class. I'm happy to do a class, the CS2A, 2B, 2C, right? Even if some of you are interested in doing some basic machine learning projects, I'm happy to do that too. After when you get to 2C, right? So I'm happy to do those things. Although I'm not teaching machine learning or data analytics at Foothill. Joanna is teaching data analytics, right? Data science. I don't know what it's called, right? Joanna. So you should absolutely do her class. I think I've heard many good things about her class from students who took her class. So yeah, I think it's data science. If you're interested in that area. So, but certainly, right? You guys are going to be going to do those things. But if you're doing 2A, 2B, 2C, I would encourage you to stick with this track. I know my track will get more challenging than some of the other tracks you will do. 2B and 2C especially will be harder, but don't give up, okay? Because I promise that at the end of the journey, you look back and say, my God, I'm so happy and lucky that I stuck with this, didn't give up, right? You'll feel that. I would like for you to feel that, right? I would like for you to come out the other end alive and smiling with an expression of joy on your face, saying, I'm so glad I did that, right? So thank you. All right, so if everything is, if you guys don't have any other questions, I will see you on Tuesday, which is the only lecture next week. So please pass this message on to your classmates, and those of you who didn't manage to make it today, please try and make it to the next 3 lectures at the very least, okay? And if you want to talk more fluff, I'm happy to talk more fluff. I can talk more fluff for the, till end of days to come, right? So, but if that's what it takes to keep you coming to class, I'm happy to do that. well, we should fit in coding, as much as possible. But I'll try and do what it takes to make the class interesting and keep you coming. Okay, the more the merrier. Like a party, right? Like a party. Because that's why you always go late to a party, right? You go early, you're the only person there. Right? Go late, and everybody's there. So, but more the merrier. You want to go and make sure that everybody's here, everybody's having a good time, because that's the only way you have a good time, right? So the only way you have a great time is by making sure that people around you are also having a great time. Right? All right. Thank you very much. I will see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.